Feels a little weird to be starting a vlog like in front of my shelves like I'm gonna do a full video or something. But you know, that's just, we're working with what we got today. But anyway, today's Friday and it's a very special Friday because I am officially on fall break now from school. So I have all of Monday and Tuesday off. So this weekend and Monday and Tuesday are my fall break and I'm very excited about it. School's been kicking my ass the last couple of weeks because I had 3 papers that were due between a Thursday and a Tuesday. And so I've just been like writing and writing and writing. And I'm ultimately really pleased with the papers I turned in, but like I am ready for a break. So I'm really glad that it is fall break now. And technically I've been on break for a little while because I went to the yarn store after work today because I only worked until noon, and then I got lunch with my mom, and then I have a friend that I'm helping build a website, so I was meeting with her, and then from there I went to the yarn store and I picked up some yarn, which I should have actually brought in here with me. Let me go grab that real quick. Okay, I'm back with the yarn. Normally I would just like be filming in my office, which is where this was, but my boyfriend is currently using my office for a school Zoom call, so that's why I'm like feeling weird standing in front of my big bookshelves for a vlog. Anyway, I went to the yarn store. I have a favorite local yarn store. The owner there is super nice, and I always get like really great advice from her, so I love going in there. And I hadn't been in a while, but I needed some more yarn. I have a weaving project I'm doing, and I needed some exciting plain black yarn for that weaving project. I will insert a picture somewhere, but I'm doing something where I'm like weaving a clasped weft, I think is what it's called. It's a shawl from my mom, but it's like black and blue. It's really neat, and I think it's gonna look a little bit like the Northern Lights when it's done, but I needed some more black yarn for it. So I went into the yarn store for that, but of course I couldn't possibly leave with just that. So of course I left with also some more black yarn, but that's to go with this other thing that I bought, which is this. This is mohair. This is super soft, and it got this like pretty rainbow in it, and then kind of pinkish fuzz. This is just like the most soft stuff, and I have a plan for this to be a kind of big cowl. It's the Kallenmai pattern by Vine Yarns. It's inspired by A Court of Thorns and Roses by the Kallenmai scene, and it's just a beautiful pattern, and I've been really wanting to make it, but I didn't have any mohair for it, and then I found this, and I was just like, I fell in love with all the colors, and it's so squishy and soft. So anyway, I cannot physically go into a yarn store without buying something, just the same as I cannot physically go into a bookstore without buying something. So we have a tiny yarn haul to kick off this vlog. But yeah, I'm on fall break now, and I thought it would be fun to vlog and take you along on my adventures over the next few days, because I have some fun stuff planned. As I said, my boyfriend is here, so he's visiting over the weekend, and we are going to paint a helmet for his Halloween costume. He's going to be Wario, so I think that's fun. And I'm going to be baking an apple cake as well, because I always like to make one every fall, and I'm slowly tweaking the recipe a little bit here and there until I get it like just right for my taste. So that's one thing I'm going to be doing this weekend that I'm really excited about. I am going to be doing some knitting since I have some yarn. I am working on, at the moment, I did think I hadn't bring this with me. I'm working on a hat at the moment. This is the Sparkling Cider Hat by Vine Yarns. So I'm working on this little guy, which, if I can straighten this out without dropping stitches, is kind of a brown yarn with a mint green. I've been calling this my mint chocolate chip hat. But yeah, so I don't know if that's focused on there or not. I can't really tell. But it's got a little bit of cabling and a little bit of beading, and I just really love this pattern, and it's so much fun to work on. And then, since this is a booktube channel and I do like to read, I'm also hoping to get some reading in, especially since I have, you know, a couple of days as well where it'll just be basically me hanging out by myself. So that'll be some like prime reading time. I think I want to prioritize The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas, because this is the Blades and Bodice Rippers pick for October, and I would really like to catch their live show, so I might try and get through this one. I am really excited about this. I've heard nothing but good things. I've heard it's really spooky. I know that there's some references to a Fleabag romance, so that's interesting. If you haven't seen Fleabag, there's a romance with a priest as a part of that show, or at least like kind of a flirtation with a priest. So I'm curious to see how that happens in here. I know this is about a woman who, I think it's during the Mexican Revolution. I think so. Mexican War of Independence. During that war, she marries this guy to like basically acquire a place for her and her mother to live. And then she gets to the hacienda and it's really spooky and probably haunted. And then there is a witch priest who is going to help her. But yeah, that is kind of the plan for the next few days. I might also play Contradiction, which is a full motion video game that I'm pretty excited about. And I think this is going to be really fun. And I thought it'd be fun to take you guys along on the adventures. It is now Sunday evening. I totally forgot to film anything yesterday. I was baking an apple cake. My partner was visiting. He's just left to go home, but he and I baked an apple cake yesterday and I totally meant to film that and I completely forgot. But here's a picture of the cake. It's I think my most successful cake ever. I've made some that are very delicious but look terrible. And this one is a recipe that I've been like making every year and kind of slowly trying to tweak it a little bit to get it to be like the perfect apple cake for my tastes, and I think I did it this year. And this one actually stayed upright. I normally don't make cakes that stay upright. We had one last year. It was not an apple cake, but it was a cake that I made for my partner's birthday, I think. He was helping, and when we went to assemble the cake, I think the frosting was too soft or something, because literally the whole cake just like collapsed over, slid right off the cake plate onto the counter. So that was fun. I've also made a chocolate cake that split directly in half, had a canyon in the middle of it. So like, I'm just excited that I got one that looks good, that like stayed upright and looks good. And it was just absolutely delicious. I'm so pleased with this. And I'm definitely going to be doing the Swiss meringue buttercream from here on out. But I make this cake like every year for fall because it's my favorite fall cake. So totally meant to film that. Completely forgot. At least I have a picture. There's that. But I also did read something. Today I read Men, Women, and Chainsaws by Stephen Graham Jones, which is a short story that I bought the other day that was, I don't know, it just looked interesting, and I have a Kindle gift card that I was given when I left my previous job, so I'm just kind of, like, occasionally buying things here and there. But this sounded interesting because it's about a woman who finds a spooky car and uses it to get revenge on her ex who broke her heart. And I thought this was a really fun story. I gave it 4 stars because I really wanted it to be longer because we really don't learn that much about any of the characters. And I just really liked them and wanted more of their like backstory and more of the interactions and stuff rather than the kind of very short descriptions we got. And because it is such a short story, it's like 37 pages, it all kind of like comes together a little too fast. And I was enjoying it so much I really wanted it to be a little bit longer to get more kind of tension built up. But I really enjoyed it, so I still did give it 4 stars, and it was a really nice little spooky season read. So I did finish reading something. That was that. Oh, and the other thing I did do is I finished this hat. This is my sparkling cider hat by Villain Vine Yarns that I started in 2020, and it only took me 2 years to make. But there we go. Gonna look bald if I put it on like that. I'm really pleased with how this turned out. It's exactly what I wanted, and I'm glad that I finally finished it after 2 years. So that's the first knitting project I finished in quite a while. I did go ahead and cast on something else, which much less exciting. I put it just out of arm's reach. I started a gauge swatch for a sweater because I'm going to make the Weekender sweater by Andrea Mowry. And yeah, I've never made a sweater before, so I thought that I would actually be good and do the gauge swatch this time. So I started that. Just a few rows in so far. I think this evening I'm actually going to play Contradiction, which is a full motion video mystery game that looks like a lot of fun. I got it recently, and I've just been wanting to play something that was a mystery that wasn't Nancy Drew, because I've played a ton of Nancy Drew recently. I do love the Nancy Drew games. I've just played a lot of them lately, but I'm probably going to play some Contradiction, and then I think once I'm done with that, then I'm gonna pick up something to read. I just need to figure out what that's gonna be. Well, it is now Monday afternoon, and I managed to finish a game I started. I played Contradictions. I think you'll have seen a previous clip of this, but it is a full motion video murder mystery. It was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. And I'm kind of hoping they'll do a sequel just because it leaves a lot of threads hanging at the end, and I would love to, like, play more in that world and, like, find out more about what's going on. It was a lot of fun. I am incredibly washed out. Let's see if there we go. I was gonna sit here, but as you can see, this little blanky baby back here has taken my spot, so instead I'm sitting on the floor. But yeah, I finished my game, and I also finished my gauge swatch for the sweater I'm gonna start, so I'm waiting for that to dry. At the moment, it's looking like I'm pretty close to the correct gauge. My stitch gauge is fine. My row gauge is, I think, slightly off, but I think based on the way I did the swatch, I did this technique for swatching in the round where you, like, hold the yarn across the back and just, like, leave these loose strands across the back. I think maybe that's affected my row gauge because my stitch gauge is totally fine, but I think that's maybe why my row gauge is slightly off, because I was supposed to be getting 27 stitches, or it's 27 rows for 4 inches, and I got 25, so I think that's probably what caused that. But yeah, I'm waiting for that to finish drying, and then after a while I can start casting on for that sweater. And for now, I think I'm actually going to read The Hacienda. I did decide to go ahead and read this one first. I've heard a lot of good things about this, and I do really want to pick this one up. So I thought this would be a fun one to read since I have the rest of today and all of tomorrow to go ahead and try and get through it. Hi, Pumpkin. My cat, Pumpkin, has come to visit. He just stepped in my lap. Hey, buddy. Anyway, I've heard great things. I really want to get to this one soon, and if I go ahead and read it, then I can watch the live show later this month. So that'll be fun. But for now, I think I'm going to make myself some lunch and go ahead and get into this. It is now Sunday. Hello. I haven't updated at all today whatsoever, mostly because I haven't done very much. Nothing interesting anyway. I have been washing some towels. That's very exciting. Yeah, that's been pretty much the vibe of the day. I haven't really done very much. I have, however, finally read some of The Hacienda, and I'm really enjoying it. But before I talk too much about that, I also have some exciting mail that just arrived. I, for the first time ever, have ordered merch for a readathon, and this one is for Weekend Ween at the end of the month. This is actually 10 days early. I think it was telling me, like, the estimated arrival date was going to be the 21st, and today is the 11th. So I'm really surprised that this has already arrived. Set that bag down where the cats can't eat it, because they love to chew on a nice plastic bag. But, like, look at this. That's so cool. I love their design for this readathon. I almost bought one for Summerween, and then I didn't get to participate anyway, so kind of worked out that I didn't buy a shirt for that. But I really wanted to get one of these because it's so cool. I love the design, and I'm definitely going to be participating in Weekend Ween because I've already like looked ahead at what my schedule is going to be like for classes and everything, like the workload. So should be good to go for that. Definitely going to be participating, and I will be vlogging that weekend as well, hopefully with a lot more successful reading. I'm pretty excited about the books I have picked for that, so I think it should be a more successful weekend. This was very much a like don't do anything, don't use brain cells whatsoever kind of weekend because the last 2 weeks of school had kicked my ass, but you know, I'm really looking forward to Weekend Ween at the end of the month. It's going to be very fun. So now on to the actual book. I did finally start the Hacienda and make some progress in it. I'm not very far in, I'm like 50 pages in, but I am loving it so far. The writing is really good, it's really engaging, and there's some sentences in here, especially in like chapter 1 and also in the section I've just read, that have just really struck me as being beautiful writing. I really enjoy the way this book is written. I'm also really enjoying Beatriz as a protagonist. Her motives for how she's ended up in this situation are really interesting. She's married this guy named Rodolfo so that she can like basically use his name and his estate to secure her future for herself and also for her mother in the wake of her father's death. And so she has this very like practical motive behind everything that she does, but there's also this kind of romanticism for her of like wanting a romantic relationship but also kind of sacrificing that to protect herself and her mother. So I think that's really interesting, and I really like her as a character so far. I'm also really enjoying some of the other characters that have cropped up. We haven't gotten too many of them yet, but there's Rodolfo's sister Juana and Ana Luisa, who is the head of household for the Hacienda. And then also we get a perspective from Father Andres, who is a priest who has recently returned to, I can't remember the name of the village, Apan, I think. A-P-A-N, Apan. He's recently returned there. He's from there. He originally lived at San Isidro with his family. Ana Luisa is his aunt. And so he used to live at San Isidro. He's now back, but he's one of the priests in town. So that's happening, and I really like his perspective as well. There's some really interesting things happening there, both with his like family connections to San Isidro, but also with his vocation as a priest. There's some interesting stuff happening with that. So I'm really enjoying it so far, and I really appreciate that this book just goes in for the spookiness immediately. It does not wait to like make the house creepy, and I really appreciate that in a gothic story when immediately, if you're gonna have a gothic house and a haunted house, it's just immediately spooky. Like, I'm here for it. I'm really enjoying it. The horror so far has been, you know, pretty subtle at this point, but it's very spooky, and I'm really enjoying that. So I'm really excited to read more of this, and I'm hoping that I'll be able to get through it this month with everything going on, but I'm absolutely loving this book, and I'm probably just going to spend the rest of the evening reading this. But with that being said, I think I'm going to end this vlog here because I need to start editing this so it can go up on Saturday, and I know that I'm going to be kind of busy with schoolwork for the next few days. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and thank you so much for joining me for this vlog. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, I hope you'll consider giving it a like and maybe even subscribing to see what comes next. I also want to say thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one. Bye.